Okay, today I'm talking about world building within speculative fiction. So, I'm going to make this quick because we're all busy people here. So the first thing that comes to mind probably when a lot of people think about world building is drawing maps of the world that they've created within their head that they are going to use to write their novel with. So this is a really good practice, and a lot of people will draw a map of the world and leave it at that. However, you can also draw a map of the country or state where your characters live. You can draw a map of the city that they live in. You can draw a map of their house, of their neighborhood. And all of these different types of maps will, they're strictly for your benefit, of course, but they'll let you get to know the world a little bit better, and they'll probably generate some ideas for the plot, which is always fun. And they'll allow you to get to know your characters a little bit better because you'll be getting to know their world better as you draw these different maps, of the different locations and scale within the world that you're creating. And of course, if you're, writing space opera, you might, draw a map of the entire universe or galaxy or solar system. So that's obviously a really important element. I also want to talk about your characters. Specifically, your main characters, however many of those that there are. In the current trilogy that I'm working on, there are 7. So in order to kind of keep everybody, well, sort of 8, but mostly 7, really kind of 7. So to keep everyone straight, I did a couple of different things. The biggest thing that I did that was really helpful for me personally was to assign every character a Myers-Briggs personality type. I'm pretty familiar with Myers-Briggs because I studied psychology in college, and also when my mom was taking psych classes, I used to go to her classes with her when I was a kid, like if I was sick or had a day off school or whatnot. So being familiar with Myers-Briggs, it was really helpful for me to give each of my characters a Myers-Briggs type because I'm familiar with how those different personalities interact and, the qualities of those different types. So I did that. And then I kind of constructed, a list of 8 to 12 character traits for each of the main characters. And then I gave each of the characters a backstory. And maybe their backstory will never come up, and maybe it will end up being really important. But the reason to write your character's backstory is so that you get to know them. You know what's behind their motivations, why they do the things they do, etc. and so on. Bios for your characters, I feel, are really important. And at this point, the new trilogy that I've started, I've only been working on it for about 6 weeks. So at this point, I have about a page of backstory for each of the main characters, which right now is plenty. And there are lots more details about the characters that are in my head that I don't feel like I have to write down necessarily in their bio, partially because I want each of their bios to just be a page. I don't want to mess with more than that. And partially because, they're maybe not important enough to write down in the backstory, but they're important enough that I'll remember them. So I don't necessarily need to put them in the bio. So the next thing that I want to say that is really important to do is to sort of do like a rough outline of the book, right? Now this is, of course, when you're very first starting. So when you're first starting and you've got this new idea and you're going to start working on this new idea, one of the biggest things that you want to do is to, write down maybe just a list, a really, quick list off the top of your head of all the things that are going to happen in the book or the trilogy or however you want to break it down. And then from there, you can start breaking it down into smaller chapters, and then you can break the chapters down into scenes. or however you're going to divide your book. Maybe you'll have books within books, and then scenes within those books. So that's a helpful thing to do, because it gets you started thinking about, okay, if they're going to be at this location by the middle of the book, what's a logical way for them to end up there, and how do they get there based on the world that they're living in and their personality traits and how they all interact with one another. So another thing that I do that has been really helpful for me personally for this new trilogy that I'm working on is I Googled artists' illustrations, drawings of people. So none of the images are real people. They're all just drawings by artists. And what I did was I assigned each one of those images to one of my main characters. And the only purpose for that is just for me to kind of have a visual, of who I'm working with, what the character looks like, how they present themselves, etc. And then, because I have a very talented artist friend, I sent her the bios that I'd written up for my characters along with the images of them, and asked her to do a drawing with all of the characters in it so that I could kind of picture them all together also. And that was also very helpful. For those of us who are really visual, that kind of exercise can be extremely useful. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took away something that you can use, and I'll see you next time.